Hey everyone, welcome back to the Network Ninja Cloudcast. I'm your host, and today we've got a topic that trips up even experienced cloud engineers. We're diving deep into how GCP actually evaluates firewall rules, because it's not as simple as most people think.
Hey everyone. Yeah, I'll admit I've been confused about this. I set up some firewall rules last week and traffic was getting blocked when I thought it should be allowed. Super frustrating.
That's exactly what we're going to fix today. So let me ask you this. When you created those rules, did you pay attention to the priority numbers?
Honestly, I just left them at the default. I think it was 1000. I figured GCP would just figure it out.
And that's mistake number one. Here's the thing. GCP evaluates firewall rules based on priority, where lower numbers mean higher priority. So a rule with priority 100 beats a rule with priority 1000 every single time. Think of it like a bouncer at an exclusive club with a VIP list.
Okay, so the VIP list gets checked first?
Exactly. The bouncer, that's GCP's firewall engine, checks the highest priority rules first. If someone's on the VIP list, priority 100, they get in immediately. The bouncer doesn't even look at the general guest list at priority 1000. Now here's where it gets interesting. GCP has implied rules that act as the final safety net. There's an implied deny all ingress rule and an implied allow all egress rule, both at priority 65,535. These are evaluated after all your user-defined VPC firewall rules have been checked.
So if no rule matches, traffic gets denied by default for incoming connections?
Precisely. And outbound traffic is allowed by default if nothing else matches. But here's what most people miss, and this is critical. GCP uses a first match wins approach. Once a rule matches, evaluation stops. It doesn't keep checking other rules.
Wait, so if I have an allow rule at priority 1000 and a deny rule at priority 900 for the same traffic, the deny wins because 900 is lower?
You've got it. And this is where hierarchical firewall policies come in, which is the real game changer for organizations. Let me explain the full evaluation order because this is where people get confused. First, GCP checks hierarchical firewall policies at the organization level, then folder-level policies in hierarchical order, then global network firewall policies, then regional network firewall policies, then VPC firewall rules, and finally, the implied rules.
Whoa, that's more layers than I expected. So the organization can set rules that override anything a project team does?
Exactly right. Let's say your security team wants to ensure that SSH on port 22 is never exposed to the internet across your entire organization. They create a hierarchical policy at the org level that denies ingress on TCP port 22 from 0.0.0.0.0 out of 0. Now, even if a developer in a project creates an allow rule for SSH from anywhere, the org level deny rule wins because hierarchical policies are evaluated first.
That's actually really powerful. So it's like having a corporate security policy that can't be overridden by individual teams.
Perfect analogy. And I've seen environments without this kind of centralized control where teams inadvertently create overly permissive rules, which can significantly increase your attack surface and security risk. Now here's a pro tip from the official GCP documentation. Hierarchical policies can use 4 actions: allow, deny, go to _next, or apply _security _profile _group. The go to _next action is brilliant because it lets the org level policy say, I don't have an opinion on this traffic, let the next level decide.
What about that fourth one? Apply _security _profile _group?
Great catch. That's used with Cloud Firewall Plus for Layer 7 inspection. It directs traffic to a security profile group where you can do things like intrusion prevention. It's a more advanced feature, but important to know it exists if you're building out a comprehensive security architecture.
Oh, so you can be selective about what the organization controls versus what teams can manage themselves, and even do deep packet inspection when needed?
Exactly. Your security team might enforce strict rules for database ports like 3306 for MySQL or 5432 for PostgreSQL. Use apply _security _profile _group for traffic that needs layer 7 inspection, but use go to _next for application-specific ports, letting project teams define those rules.
Okay, I think I'm getting it. But what's the biggest mistake you see people make with this?
2 things. First, people create overly broad allow rules with low priority numbers. I've seen rules like allow all TCP traffic from 0.0.0.0 out of 0 at priority 100. That's basically disabling your firewall. Second, people forget that VPC firewall rules are stateful. If you allow outbound traffic, the response traffic is automatically allowed, even without an explicit ingress rule. Now, I should mention that network firewall policies, the global and regional ones, actually give you more control here. You can configure connection tracking to allow for stateless evaluation in specific scenarios if you need that level of control.
So I don't need to create separate rules for response traffic with regular VPC rules?
Correct. For VPC firewall rules, they're always stateful. If your VM initiates a connection to an external API on port 443, the response packets are automatically allowed. But if an external system tries to initiate a connection to your VM, that needs an explicit allow rule.
Let me make sure I've got this. Priority matters. Lower numbers win. The evaluation order goes hierarchical policies at org and folder level, then global network firewall policies, then regional network firewall policies, then VPC rules, and finally implied rules. First match wins, so evaluation stops once a rule matches. VPC rules are stateful, but network firewall policies can be configured for stateless evaluation. And hierarchical policies have 4 actions, including that security profile group option.
That's a perfect summary. One last tip, check out Firewall Insights in the Network Intelligence Center. It shows you which rules are actually being hit and which ones are shadowed by higher priority rules. Just keep in mind you'll need to enable firewall rules logging first to get the hit count data. I've found redundant rules in almost every environment I've audited.
That's super helpful. I'm definitely going to review my project's firewall rules after this.
That's it for today's episode. If you found this helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Next week we're covering VPC service controls, which pairs perfectly with what we learned today.
And share this with anyone managing GCP infrastructure. This stuff is critical for security.
Thanks for watching the Network Ninja Cloudcast. See you in the next one.